initiating the Grieving Rounds was the fact that I, as a senior attending, supervising intensive care physician, struggled with death, the death of my patients, the death of individuals that some of them I didn't know, but had invested so much energy and so much time and so much thought, and had gotten close to their families to have those patients die. I felt loss, I felt emotions, I grieved. And in recent years, I'd come to sense that if I, as a senior physician, struggled with the loss and death of patients, junior physicians and physicians in training certainly were going through the same kinds of emotions, and maybe not handling it all that well, given their level of training.
Over time, there are a number of losses. The losses don't always begin with death. They have to do with a failed diagnosis or a failed treatment. But later on in one's career, it's inevitable that you're going to face death. Now, in the medical intensive care unit, you're facing death on a regular basis. And again, severity that is uncharacteristic of other practices. But over time, they can be just a wearing down. And again, that takes many forms. For some, there's this inability to really emotionally connect with patients because it's too dangerous to do that. And by dangerous, I don't mean that it's about life or death, but it's about the emotional resiliency that you need to face death over and over and over again, not just death, but suffering, so that you can maintain your center, your wholeness, and still be a viable person in relationship with someone who's sick and dying.
The goal of the Grieving Rounds is to, one, let them see that what they're experiencing is not unique, that they're not alone in having emotions of anger, frustration, grief, loss when patients die. It also gives them an opportunity to express among colleagues, among individuals who understand, potentially understand what they're experiencing, allows them to express those emotions in a safe place. Because medicine teaches us to be strong. That's what's expected of the physician. That our emotions, well, we need to contain them because others need to rely on us. We take approximately 35 to 45 minutes for them to discuss any patient that they would like to talk about who has died in the preceding month while they were in the ICU. Our tendency in medicine is to simply go on. But yet there's no question that for us as caregivers, when patients die, we experience all kinds of emotion. How did the family take it?
She had an incredibly supportive family. So her parents, her sister, her husband would kind of take turns staying at the bedside. Someone would always be there overnight. It was extraordinarily difficult for them. I suppose they took it as I would have. I mean, it was just.
The fact that she was just a new mother, and that the baby, I mean, what would happen to the baby? Any thoughts like that?
Yeah, so I had a couple of conversations with her husband and talked a little bit about, you know, how he was coping with taking care of the baby. Somewhat on his own. Of course, again, there was incredible family support, so he had a lot of help with that. But he said he'd never envisioned a life where he was going to be raising this child on his own. So, you know, the thing that he said is that he couldn't comprehend being a father, having a family without his wife.
a perfectionist, and I kind of chalk that up in my mind as a loss of mine, and I just feel like there's like a little galley of ghosts that we all start to accumulate after a while. Even after, in retrospect, there's no error, there's nothing that you could have done, and this and that, but it's still, you didn't win that one, so it's hard, but.
There is a lot to be sad about when a patient dies, but to try to find that aspect keeps you from, feeling worn down by all the deaths that you have to experience in your time in the ICU.
The very real stress of patients dying despite your best effort. Dying, although you've worked so hard and so long to save this person, to only have them die. And that can oftentimes produce a sense of failure or a sense of being defeated.
What is it like for you to be attached to a patient? Because, I mean, in a way, that's what Debriefing Rounds is all about, that you form attachments to some degree or another. They're not necessarily always good, but you form an attachment, and then that attachment is broken over and over and over again.
The sense of loss that occurs when you work with the patient, you've cared for a patient, you've become close and attached to that person. And when they die, you experience grief and loss just as if they were someone in your family.
I think that these formal rounds, replacing, our personal coping strategies have been really, really valuable. So for those of us who do not have the luxury of necessarily being able to talk to other professionals on a personal level, this is a forum in which we can do it and we can all grieve together. It also draws us together as a team, which is really important in this day and age. And I think this is a great way of doing it. It has certainly worked for us.
The hardening of the heart is something that is not impossible to happen among physicians. And the idea is that with Debriefing Rounds, you're introducing the notion that one does not have to be victim to the many burdens that you face when you're a physician working with patients who suffer severely and die, that there are things that you can do. And I think the idea that you can be empowered by maybe learning how to talk to others, finding confidants, learning how to share what it is that burdens you most, are all ways in which you can protect yourself against burnout or compassionate fatigue, as they call it, caring too much or so much that you end up taking on the burdens of others and becoming incapacitated by it.